Hey guys, it's week 3 of Once Upon a September, and today I am doing a double review. That's right, you heard me. 2 book reviews in one video. Because this week I actually managed to read more than one book. I know, I'm so proud of myself. So I'll try not to take up too much of your time with this video, which might mean that I talk really fast. First up is Fairest of All by Serena Valentino. This is a tale of the Wicked Queen from Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and this is a Disney-sanctioned book, as you can probably tell by this beautiful cover art. This was also one of the books I was most looking forward to reading this month. I was really enjoying this story. It was not what I expected at all. Valentino starts off with the Queen being a benevolent character, and that concerned me because I wasn't sure I liked the way that it was headed, and I was afraid that it was going to turn out to be a really shallow book, but it actually took me by surprise. It went through some really great, convincing character development, and I was loving it! Until the end. It hit a certain point where the Queen's story lines up with Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and because this is a Disney book, it was able to go right into the familiar version, which was pretty cool. You recognized it instantaneously because Valentino wrote out the beginning scenes of the movie, and they flowed into the story. I was thinking, okay, this is pretty cool. But it quickly became uncool, because the writing quality slacked off at this point. The description wasn't as good, and I felt the writing overall dipped down several notches. For most of the book, Valentino's style was good, and her writing quality was decent, but once it hit this point, she seemed to write out the familiar movie scenes as quickly as possible, as simply as possible, like she just wanted to get through it as fast as she could. She didn't spend enough time with any particular scene like she did through the rest of the story. I honestly got the impression that she just gave up on her story and on her character. Occasionally, we get a glimpse into the Queen's head during this finale, but the instances were rare and not, I felt, very deep. The development Valentino worked so hard on wasn't convincing anymore. There was also a definite shift in the characters of the Magic Mirror and the Queen once it hit the point where it joined the movie version. It wasn't huge, but it was distinct enough that you could tell Valentino was no longer truly writing for either character anymore. Not just because their dialogue exactly matched that of the movie, but because it was just different enough from how she portrayed these characters throughout the rest of the book that you could tell it didn't mesh quite right. I had other issues with the story. While the Queen certainly becomes a villainess, she's prompted by outside sources, but their motives are never revealed, or even considered. I still have no idea what they were trying to accomplish or why they kept popping up throughout the story. I also found it kind of irksome that the Queen doesn't have a name. This one I understand to an extent because Valentino probably wanted to keep this in tandem with the movie as much as possible, and in the movie, the Queen's name is never revealed. So giving her a name would mess with that image. However, throughout the story, the Queen has a lot of recollections and reminiscing of her life before she became Queen. She's not yet the Queen. She has no idea she's going to become Queen, but it still refers to her in these memories as the Queen. So it felt awkward to me, and I think there is a better way that could have been done. So, I was really enjoying this book and Valentino's take on the Queen. It had some great character development, I thought, but once I hit chapter 19, it just fell apart. You can see that is not very far from the end, but these last 30 pages essentially ruined this book for me. I felt cheated because it seemed like Valentino wrote a prequel, but she didn't follow through with it and make it fit. Fairest of All gets 2 stars out of 5, and I'm just saying, if not for the end, this probably would have scored 4 stars. On to Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I have to admit, when I first heard about this book, I had serious doubts. I mean, Cinderella as a cyborg? Really? I love me some retold fairy tales, but that sounded a little overboard to me. I mean, you would have to be a really good writer to pull that off. I'm so glad I decided to read it anyway because, oh my goodness! Marissa Meyer is a genius, and somehow she did manage to pull it off. I think the key to this was that she didn't focus too much on the Cinderella tale. There are definite references and allusions throughout the book to it, but it was not the main focus, or even a real focus at all. We were far too concerned about plagues and aliens and impending doom. I literally am still having trouble believing that this book is as good as it was. Common sense just keeps telling me that space opera and fairy tales do not mix, but they do! I think my favorite part of the story is that Meyer decided to set it in a futuristic Beijing as opposed to America. I know that probably sounds ridiculous. There are cyborgs and aliens and you like the location? I know. I know, but setting it in New Beijing gave it a different and unique feel. It deepened the story's depth, as it were. I mean, how many American versions of Cinderella have you seen? And any that aren't American are European. So giving it an Oriental setting was completely refreshing. Meyer masterfully weaves all of these insane elements to create a wonderful story. The characters were magnificent, the story, though a tad predictable, was riveting, and the writing quality kept my attention. I was also very impressed about the cleanness of the story. I have an aversion to young adult fiction because I often have issues with a lot of the content. In this, there was no gratuitous innuendo or sexual reference, and hardly any swearing. I think she says, "damn it," twice. And for that, especially, I am immensely grateful. So my heartfelt thanks, Marissa Meyer, for giving me an excellent young adult novel that I can fully enjoy. There was only one thing that truly bugged me about Cinder, and that was the koi pond. Not the koi pond, the koi pond. And that just brings a totally different picture to mind. But let's be honest, people, that is a completely inconsequential peeve. And it's my only peeve for the entire novel. So it's gotta be good. Cinder by Marissa Meyer gets 5 stars, and I can't wait to read the rest of this series.